Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Alien vs. Predator Galaxy podcast, the original Alien and Predator podcast. This is regular host Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks, and joining me are my fellow either Colonial Marshalls or human trafficking syndicate members. I'll let them pick which exactly they want to represent for this episode.
Adam Zeller, aka RidgeTop.
Greg, also known as Still Collating.
Jack, aka Colonial Marine Dachande. Not Marine, Marshal. Nice one. Way to go.
Well, at least Jack picked an allegiance. Adam and Greg, who knows? I'm going to guess human traffickers based on.
Well, you don't know.
suspicious
I'm
filing.
undercover. I'm on vacation. Yeah,
This is true.
I'm a synthetic of discernible nature, so we shall see. Do I lean towards the human trafficking side or the martial side? Depends on the mood.
Greg,
I'm
is
also
the
actually
very...
Dachande's son as well. Yeah, I'm related to him.
You know what? That took me a moment there. I was like, "What the fuck's he on about?" And then, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I get it. Just wildly out there for no reason and no impact on the plot. But yes,
Indeed. Adam, don't spoil your thoughts on that particular moment just yet. We are today talking about Alien Paradiso, which was the last Alien single franchise run that we've had so far as of recording. Written by Steve Fox with artwork by many people. On this one, we had Edgar Salazar with pencils. Edgar Salazar on pencils with ink by Victor Navarro. And on issue 3, Jason Moore did the pencils and the inks. Colorist was Carlos Lopez. And doing the Xenomorph POV was Peter Nguyen. Many artists. I shall read the summary on the back of this here trade. And then we'll go into our short thoughts before we start talking specifics, as per usual. So, welcome to Paradiso, where the money flows like blood and the blood flows like acid. The Tulum of space, Paradiso is a hidden gem amongst the colonies with its tropical climate, white sand beaches, and population of super wealthy criminals. When Colonial Marshalls, Dachande and Lydia Reeds are sent there to bust a smuggling ring, they think they've hit the job assignment jackpot. Meanwhile, smuggler Ricky Valentine came here to make a deal that would set him and his crew for life. English is hard, folks.
It's supposed to be easy for you British folks.
Well, no, it's just an assortment of many different languages mashed together. It makes no sense. As I'm sure any, non-English speaker can testify to when they learn in English. But the only ones getting lucky here are those hungry enough to take what they need. The chestburster is loose amongst the hapless, hyper-wealthy, and the seriously underpaid staff. But xenomorphs aren't the only threat lurking in the neon lights, and the Nostromo's legacy will soon haunt paradise. Adam, how did you feel about this run?
Well, you've been using the term whelmed a lot lately. And,
Adam, I'm sorry, before you go on. Having used the term whelmed on our podcast the other day, I went and Googled it. Whelmed just means overwhelmed.
I would figure overwhelmed would mean overwhelmed.
Yes, you would, but no, it does not. So, Adam, I propose to you this other word that I sometimes use instead. Ambivalent.
How is that different than indifferent?
I do not know.
Just gonna do English today, I guess.
Okay.
Probably similar either way.
Ambivalent, having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone. Indifferent.
So very different from indifferent.
Having no particular interest or sympathy.
Indifferent. Okay. I'm going to go somewhere between indifferent and lukewarm. That's probably where I'm going to place it. pretty average to me. There's some things I liked. The artwork was kind of all over the place. Um, it switched to the Xenomorph POV a number of times, and this was by a different artist. Yeah, it was the story was pretty straightforward, not much to it. A few past elements that I'm sure we'll get into that were just kind of thrown in there and didn't really have much impact. It had its charming moments, I would say. Um it was all right. I would just kind of say it's all right. Like a 6 out of 10 for me, probably.
Greg.
Well, first, knowing that when Aaron got into it and said that he wasn't too joyfully entertained by it, it kind of slowed me down in finishing it. But I do remember that I liked the first issue when I read it some time ago. So now I finally read it all in one sitting again, and I found that I actually quite liked it. Uh, yeah, it isn't anywhere near the category of the best comics. I could describe it with nothing special, but at the same time, I was thoroughly entertained. I liked it quite a bit. It reminded me of those kind of mid-tier Dark Horse comics. Had a lot of those kind of old EU elements. I liked the simplicity of it as a basic slasher. It's basically most of the comic is just people being ripped apart by these creatures, and I liked, especially in recent years with alien media and stuff, the pretentiousness at certain times. I kind of liked the honesty in the simple approach. Had a kind of AvP Requiem vibes as well, which I also like to some extent. Um, the family connection with Kane was completely unneeded. It had so little bearing on the plot, and whenever it was mentioned in the concurrent timeline, it was just like out of left field. Uh, Reminded me of how it was done in Aliens Bishop, but a bit more clumsier. Um, but other than that, I was quite happy with it. The POV shots were a bit strange, but I enjoyed them more than I did dislike them. A lot of the alien shots looked pretty good. There are some NECA references there, but no tracing at least. I liked most of it. Yeah, I did notice a change in the third issue, but with having it be another person that did the line work, that makes now a lot more sense. But overall, this is one that I found fun, and I wouldn't be estranged to revisiting it one day. So yeah, I would probably go around a 7 out of 10 or something like that.
Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what's already been said. Like, I haven't read or consumed a whole lot of like alien EU media recently, so in terms of like actual other comics and stuff like that, I haven't really read anything in years.
So this
but I
is your
thought-
first Marvel one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I read one or two of the issues. I don't remember what it was. It might have just been the one just called like Alien Whatever when I had the Marvel app on my phone, but don't remember too much about it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. Like I said, the alien POV stuff, I thought was quite interesting and quite a fun way to actually include what the aliens are doing without it just being like regular panels, I guess, as it were. Like I said, yeah, the family stuff seemed a bit pointless. I don't know if it was me, but again, because I haven't read much, it seemed quite short. Like I feel like I had it done in like 20 minutes, half an hour. So I don't know if that's just me remembering older graphic novels that I've gone through and feel like they're a lot longer. But
No, I had the
It's
same
actually-
feeling. For a 5 issue, it felt a little short.
So at 5 issues, it is actually longer than most. It's actually longer than most of Dark Horse's stuff. It's a little shorter than what Marvel had been doing because they'd started off with pretty much 6 issues, and I think Icarus was 5 issues. Is that right?
I'm not sure. Off the top of my head.
Probably we can check it, but I feel that yeah, it was a tad bit shorter. But yeah, I also agree that the length, it feels of a different length in the sense of it doesn't feel like the super short ones. You definitely feel the 5 issues compared to the 4 issue ones that the ending of the Dark Horse era had, where I always was kind of sad that it was too short. So I kind of do feel that here it had a bit more room to breathe in, but at the same time, not a lot of things happen plot-wise that I understand can make the impression of, well, this is a short adventure. And then especially compared to the other longer lasting arcs that are at least 6 issues, and then Defiance and Aliens Colonial Marines, this is a very contained story. But at the same time, I do remark that it is a bit less rushed than if than some previous stories that had 4 issues. So I'm glad that we at least had the 5.
But yes, I mean, apart from that, I did enjoy it. Like, it had some fun panels, some fun kills, stuff like that. Like the opening one where you just see the guy hiding, and then the other dude's top of his head just fucking drops into frame. I thought that looked quite good. Yeah, art and stuff I thought was fine. Like, I know older comics had a lot of like tracing and stuff like that in, which again, I didn't really notice anything like that. But yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. Like, I've read it through twice, once like a week or so ago, and another time today. But I'll probably keep hold of it and read it again if the move fancies. So yeah, I think a 6, 7 out of 10 from me.
I think my memory was a little stained on this one. So I think I've read it. This was either the third or fourth time I read it when I was rereading today before we sat and recorded. And I was like, you know what, this was actually pretty solid. In my memory, I'd been very much like, it exists. Uh, it's a comic that was made and is out there. But no, I was actually pretty entertained by it today. I do think art wise, it's generally very good. I do think there's a dip in quality when the guest artist comes on the third issue, because the aliens look a lot less detailed, and some of the human characters are a bit less detailed. Although it seems like the original guy actually came back on towards the end of the third issue, because some of the final panels of the aliens looked, more in line with the rest of the series. Coloring, it's great. Yeah, it's nice to see a lot of solid coloring. But as entertaining as I do think it genuinely was, yeah, not a lot of consequence really happens in it. It's like it doesn't do much new, anything new. I think you can only really give it the alien vision in terms of being a new thing for the comics. This is one of many interpretations of the alien vision we've seen, but it's not something that tends to be done in the comics. I can't think of, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other series that has done that. So that was a nice little treat. And as Casper says in the comments, it was cool to see how the Xenos hunt and see. I liked that it was Colonial Marshalls, because it is a nice change of pace from scientists or space truckers or colonial marines or whatever. I do wish they'd have lent a little bit more into them being colonial marshals, as in they'd framed it a bit more around that profession, done a bit more investigative stuff, done a bit more policey stuff, rather than them just being there undercover. But it was a nice change of pace. I did enjoy their dynamic and their banter together. But the synth was needless. The familial relationship between, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I looked it up and I got two different pronunciations online. It was Tula or Sula. But Kane's daughter. I thought that was entirely unnecessary. So yeah, it was entertaining. It was good. I've read it multiple times. It's not one I'm gonna be. I'm not going to be desperate to dive back into it, but it's also not one where I'm going to be like, fuck this comic, I'm never going to read it again, kind of thing. So I do think it's a fairly solid middle of the road kind of story. Probably 6.5, 6.5, 6. 7, somewhere around there. What do we want to talk about first? Do we jump straight into the cane of it all, or is there any?
I want to talk about the setting. I think
I knew you would. I
yeah,
knew straight
was
away. I
gonna
was like,
say,
"Oh, Adam's gonna love this."
I think you know that I like atypical settings in the Alien universe, be it a jungle or an underwater base or a space cruise ship, or in this case, a resort world, which not the first time we've seen that in Alien. There's an older comic. I can't remember it, Aaron. You should.
Is it not the one with the chest burster? The infected chest burster, the one by Mark
I
Schultz?
think so. It's the one at
The Goldbuster. Yes. Yes.
Kidnapped?
maybe.
Kidnapped.
Yeah, yeah. It's the one at the end where the lady's sitting next to him and like she like explodes or something with that really crazy panel. Yeah. So it's not the first time we've seen that setting. I don't think the setting was taken to its full potential, really. Um, I really enjoyed a lot of the covers and the variants that played around with that theme of like Alien and the casino, right? Like it was really cool to see. And yes, I thought the setting worked and it was intriguing. I just wish they would have taken more advantage of it. Um, they really go into kind of the seedy underbelly aspects of this resort world, that it has this very clean image, but there's a lot of things that are kind of going on under the surface. So that I enjoyed. Again, it was an aspect I think they could have maybe explored a little bit further. They did it a little bit with their like worker exploitation thing. They had the capitalism commentary here, and I think that unfortunately was also less commentary and almost kind of satire with how blunt it was a little bit. Like, oh, you have an hour to get on the ship. That's it. It's like, okay, this is a bit much. But I think it was an intriguing setting. And that was one of the stronger points of it for me, was just it was unique for that aspect. I mean, was that a thing for any of you guys, or
I I'm in agreement there with you, Adam, that something that I like, especially for the comics, is to find them explore different settings, different types of stories, and that is something again that I harken back to the old Dark Horse era, where you had these wild, different types of stories in different types of settings. So having this on a paradise type island resort planet was something that I really liked seeing again. And as far as the atmosphere goes, it reminds me also of that one comic, that old Dark Horse comic where there's this smuggler or something trapped on a ocean side, like a ship, with an alien, and just something in that kind of approach just rekindled that type of nostalgia there. Uh, but the thing that I like for this setting is that you feel that this universe is lived in, it's alive, and of course, there will be rich oligarchs that create the setting. I was pretty happy with how the the setup for the story was conceived in that sense. So you want to have a place where people are trapped. You want to have a place where the weapons are limited. How are you going to do this? Well, with how the rules of the island and the story is set up, I thought it was pretty convincing and pretty believable how to get our characters to be very vulnerable. And then you think it's one alien, but no, then it's four. And I liked the escalation and the setup of everything. It helped me be quite immersed uh, in the story. But yeah, with the thing that I most kind of like and want to see when I come for the Alien franchise at all, but especially like for the visual side, the comics, etc., I'm here for the Alien. So I want to see a pretty nicely drawn Xenomorph XX121. And in most of the shots, the creature looks pretty good, especially in the beginning, and again a lot in the second issue and in the final issue as well. there are some magnificent shots of the creature, how biomechanical it's done. You can very clearly see the NECA Big Chap inspiration of it, but it's posed dynamically. It's the kills are dynamic, they are gory, they have that AvP 2010 vibe that I always really like to see. And for the Xenomorph fans, if you come and want to see some Xenomorph action and ripping apart people, yep, you're gonna get with this comic. The POV shots are also very interesting. They were strange first with how differently drawn they were, but it had that ACM, the Alien Colonial Marines game kind of a style with how the aliens see. That kind of reminded me of that kind of echolocation-y
I
aspect.
I didn't take that from it. I didn't really think about ACM at all there. I kind of took it as being, because it was like squiggly little lines. I was like, oh, is this supposed to be like an electrical current? Is this supposed to be them seeing the bioelectrics of aliens, of humans, of synthetics?
Possibly. There were also these kind of lines, like aura looking things, which could
Yeah,
be
like
smells, pheromones, etc.
pheromones.
Yeah, could be a lot of things, but I liked uh, how it's depicted in that kind of different coloration sense. It wasn't the simple kind of the vision system that we've seen in Alien Covenant or something like that. So I appreciated the artistic um, expression there, how they tried it. So I was generally happy with how the characters were drawn as well. The expression was well done. Happy with the dialogue. The coloring was also something I was pretty happy with. I always kind of prefer a bit more contrast, having more use of actual blacks, which older media tended to do. But this has done it better than some of the starting uh, Marvel Alien comics. So again, all of the elements came together there well. And how Casper says here, the covers for the individual issues were amazing what has been released online and to buy, of course, in person. Those covers alone are poster worthy that you can just put on your room or on your like bedroom wall or something. That is fantastic. So whenever we get great art and nice alien action there, that's already got me halfway to appreciating a comic of that type.
Jack, what did you think about the setting?
I think I definitely agree with the rest of you. Like, it is very unique for a lot of stuff. Like, again, like I can't recall much alien stuff that's kind of done something like this. And the way that it is kind of set up, like you said, without the weapons, you need to be self-contained. Like, none of it was too far-fetched. Like, it made sense for the story that they were telling. Like I said, yeah, the artwork and stuff was really good. Like, I know I mentioned the covers. I thought the cover for issue 4, where the aliens like hanging upside down, cradling a head, that was probably my favorite one of the bunch. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, yeah, I'm good. Kind of what I said before, but like, yeah, the artwork was good. A lot of the alien stuff I did like the POV stuff. It looked, yeah, kind of weird enough that, like, I mean, to be fair to me, I didn't even notice that it was necessarily different artists. I just kind of assumed everything looked different because it was the alien POV, so it wasn't too much of like a stretch to me. But yeah, I think I agree. Like, the setting was unique enough. Like, I kind of feel like they could have done a bit more with it. Like some of the other covers and stuff like that, where you see like an alien like on top of like a building and a bit like a cityscape type thing. They could have done. But
I think that phrase kind of sums up the comic a little bit, though. They could have done more. Like, don't get me wrong, it was enjoyable, like we've all said, but no, Jack is on point there with they could have done a little more.
I mean, I think that kind of sums up most of it. Like, to me, I don't think there's anything bad in this. Like, there was lots of, I mean, it's a bit like Alien Earth. There's a lot of good ideas, and it's just kind of how they've implemented it and added it in that they've not necessarily hit it. But like, yeah, I think a lot of the stuff was really good, but could have just done with a little bit more polish or thought to kind of give it a little bit more oomph, some of it.
I always enjoy them taking these stories to different settings, if only just to give us visuals of aliens in different locales or different environments that we might not necessarily get to see on the big screen or even the small screen, I suppose, now going forwards. So it's certainly interesting from a visual sense. Narratively, I don't know, because it's not like it factored into it in any heavy sense of what was going off. Really, I mean, it could have been anywhere, and narrative wise, it still function kind of similarly. But just like getting to see splash pages of an alien raising out of the ocean, or coming out of mists in a steam rune, having impaled people and stuff like that, that's pretty fucking cool. And I'm not going to argue with that in the slightest. I liked, so talking about the POV, since it's been brought up, I liked again that it was very different. It could have been boring like Covenant. It could have been boring like hell. I'll even call Alien 3's Fisheye lens dull. And even AvP, the games, their interpretations where it's just the aura around the human, it could have been dull there, but that they actually went with a different artist who was doing it wildly different. I will absolutely appreciate, and they went with this sort of, Greg likened it to echolocation from the Colonial Marines game, but I liked that I read it as this bio signal thing. I liked that it wasn't too busy, but it was interesting, and there's things to read in it. I kind of would have liked a little bit of context to how it's supposed to be functioning, just a little bit, to know if my reading's correct, if it is supposed to be echolocation or some variety like Greg sort of read. It would have been nice to have a little bit of context there. So in some regards, it feels a little bit out of, maybe they should have saved it for a more sciencey focused story, but I'm not going to argue with it because it looked interesting, and it makes this comic visually stand out from, well, I guess any of Marvel's run really at all in terms of visuals.
It looked good. But I think you're right. It did kind of feel like padding a bit. It didn't feel like it was used particularly well. The first thing that came to my mind, oddly enough, was the Daredevil movie. If you remember the POV in that one, since he's blind, that is kind of like echolocation-y in that. As far as the Xenomorph art, since that was brought up, I'm always very particular with that one. And yes, there were a number of different artists on this. I felt like
Only the two, really. Well, I guess the three, because the Xenomorph POV guy was still doing. The other guy was a colorist, Adam.
well, there were two pencilers.
Yeah,
right?
two pencilers,
Okay.
and then the POV artist,
And two
since he was
inkers.
also
Okay.
doing Aliens.
Yeah. So Peter Nguyen, hope I'm saying that right, did the alien POV stuff, and I think he actually got the best looking xenomorphs. But even though it was all in POV, whenever you saw other xenomorphs in that POV, they looked the most dynamic. Like movement is always a really important thing for me with alien art in comics, and
it's kind of got more difficult for people to do that, hasn't it? Because of this seeming reliance on reference material.
yeah, I mean, xenomorphs are not easy to draw, and combine that with deadlines in Marvel. I'm sure a lot of times it's just, they're doing what they can as fast as they can. I see some artists still pull it off really well. And it was with the main stuff outside of the POV, it was kind of a mixed bag for me here. There was a panel at the start of issue 5 I thought looked really bad, where they were all in kind of a casino room and they very much had that static action figure pose type look. There were others that looked fine. I still feel like the strongest xenomorphs were the ones we saw in that POV.
I will definitely agree that within that POV they look a lot more dynamic, a lot more exaggerated poses, and just the fluidity of the movement is absolutely best presented in those POV shots. Uh, I just want to add that what I liked about the POV shots also was the choice of the kind of a bit more psychedelic coloring, not just making it black and white or grayscale outlines. It was a very interesting kind of creative choice there. And again, the thing that kind of helps me get the vibe of it being a more kind of slasher oriented comic. Is especially those types of shots where you have the killer's quote unquote POV there. It gives that Alien 3 chase scene kind of interpretation, because anytime we see the POV in this comic, we see those victims cowering for their lives. They're really horrifying, actually, and I appreciated how, even though we are looking from the aliens' perspective, in those moments, we get to see just how terrible of a fate this is for our poor victims, which are dozens and dozens of in this comic. Just the last thing regarding the setting, I do find it a bit strange that it needed to be in 2150. Like, since Marvel has already done comics that are past Alien 3, this could have fit a lot better past Alien 3.
I think that was all because of Tula.
Oh yes. That completely slipped my mind. That makes sense then, which is an unneeded element. Her character would have worked perfectly well without that backstory, but we'll get to that. That and Zeta Reticuli being the headquarters for the Marshalls. Those two kind of details. Why is this in the timeline? If we could take out that Kane familiar thing, plus the headquarters location for being Zeta Reticula. Those are my only two kind of complaints regarding the setting. The rest has completely just bought me in with regarding the immersion.
Real quick, Casper brought up Alien Paradiso issue 2 variant cover by Ryan Brown. Was probably my favorite cover of the whole run, I think, where it's coming out of a bloody swimming pool. You have the palm trees and the like amber glow city lights in the background. I thought that was a really striking one. And you also helped me out, Casper, because recently I was wondering what Marvel cover I had seen the alien on the Dr. Squatch soap bars on, because I knew I had seen that somewhere. And I thought it was Gabriel Delato's one for like a variant he did for Marvel 1. And it wasn't that, because there were slight differences. But you pointed out he did Alien Annual, I believe. Yeah, Alien Annual. And that was I wonder if he reused the same piece, because it looks very similar, but that's the one that that is on the Dr. Squatch soap bars that have come out recently. A little bit of a random tangent there, but so thank you for that.
Should we jump straight into Tula and just get that out of the way, because that can't be more than a 5-minute conversation, really. How entirely unnecessary was she in this? You know, we live in an age where I think a lot of fans are bored of familial relations. I know Greg sort of threw some shade on Bishop earlier, but I think it worked pretty well in Bishop, even though it wasn't absolutely necessary. At least it still kind of served as a bit of a driving force for Apone's brother. I can't remember the character's name in the book. But yeah, it was entirely unnecessary in this. I think the only relevant point of her being related to Kane was a single panel in, I think it was like issue 5 or something, where she's explaining a little bit about her resentment to the big corporations. Yeah, here it is. Assholes with power never give a shit about anybody but themselves. Known that my whole life. My dad was a good company man. All it got him was a classified cause of death and a widow who couldn't live off Weyland-Yutani insurance payouts. And that can easily be worked away with. That can easily be worked elsewhere, because there's even an whole page dedicated earlier to the Weyland-Yutani insurance people showing up to say nothing really to Kane's widow. So that page could have been used for some alternate backstory that worked out. That worked similar, sorry, should I say. And it kind of, the only point I see to it is potentially in terms of continuing her story in another comic, because it sets up a little bit of I don't want to say motivation, but relevant background.
I mean, it made me
Yeah.
surprised she didn't just join the Marshals then when he offered that, because that kind of would have been her ticket to understanding what happened, I think.
Maybe a setup for a future Betty type crew with different pirates and smugglers or something. Who knows?
Well, the last panel as well kind of alluded to something else after this, but yeah, it was just a bit of a weird choice to just drop it in there. And even if someone on the covers is not on the opening page where she's pinned by an alien and there's a picture of Thomas Kane off the sun, it's like, that's just really weird.
Well, it's funny because when those solicitations were dropping and that cover dropped, everybody sort of went, "What the fuck? When was this a thing? How is this relevant to?" I think issue 1 had probably only just come out at that point, but how is this relevant to the story? And yeah, it's entirely needless. But it's not like it's a negative on the story either. It's not like it's any distracting factor or anything. It's just needless and one of those it exists kind of vibes to the comic. But yeah, could have done without it.
I agree there that I was pleasantly surprised that that familial connection didn't detract from the comic. That even though it was there, it was so unimpactful, it was so unnecessary that it had no bearing. And at least it wasn't distracting in a sense, which is also good. Again, I was surprised with why the need to do something like this, since even though she is a important character in this series, she isn't really kind of portrayed as the main character. A bunch of the characters got enough time within this 5-issue run for the spotlight. I kind of liked not having this singular focus, so this singular uh, person being just tracked and that's it. I like the kind
It
of more
was
ensemble cast feeling.
exactly. It was a good ensemble piece character wise.
Yes, yes, and uh, so I would be surprised if they ever plan to continue with her. Though, of course, maybe that's why they put that familial connection there. But knowing how little emphasis they gave her character and just panel time, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing her again. She was completely
I
fine, but
I would be purely because I'm bored. I'm bored to death of the amount of stories that are now trying to ride that sort of motivational wave in Alien. Amanda Ripley was the exception, not the rule, and she had to earn fandom's sort of respect because when it was first announced, everybody was like, "Oh, what the fuck? Why do we need it?" Blah 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 blah. And to be fair, it could have worked without her, but it adds this whole. It would have required reworking, but it adds a whole different emotional depth to Alien Isolation, because that moment when she finally gets to hear Ripley's recording at the end of that game is, yeah, that hits you in the feel. But just because it worked for Isolation doesn't mean it's going to work all the time. And Alien is starting to mine that well a bit too much. And I say this also known about Vasquez's sister in Colonial Marines in the Dark Horse days. But we're mining that well too much at the minute. You know, we've gone back to Vasquez. We've had twin daughters. No, son and daughter
yes, it was son and daughter. We will get to that in the
and
quiz
a
questions
nephew.
later.
And a nephew. And now we got Apone's brother in Bishop. Now we've got Kane's daughter. There's been Hicks's wife in one of the short stories. It's creatively bankrupt ways of motivating some characters, and it's so needless in this. And I don't want them to continue using it. No, thank you, Marvel. If any of you are listening, leave it. Be creative. Go do your own stuff. Stop making familial relations.
It's being done at a point where it's gotten a bit obnoxious. It seems like between Alien and Aliens, everyone who was involved in those stories has family members or descendants that also encountered the xenomorphs at this point. So it's just, again, we've been proven wrong, like you said, Aaron, with Amanda Ripley. We were very skeptical on that. It worked. I think the concept can work, but it's best used a bit more sparingly, I think.
There's only one character I want to see return from any of the films. And that's Morse.
I thought you were going to say Ripley 8.
Well, okay, and
No
Ripley 8 as well.
timeline.
Because I very much like Ripley 8. I very much really like her. But no, Morse is the one I think should be reappearing, and he should be railroaded, kind of like Alan Grant in Jurassic Park 3, in my opinion. You know, I wasn't even on this island, and Morse can be like, I barely even saw the fucking alien kind of thing to it. Yeah, and he even wrote his own story, as Casper says in
No,
comments.
it is all starting to feel a bit Star Warsy, where everything just happens to this group of people and no one else can ever be involved, type thing. But yeah, it's just like I said, I haven't read the other books that you guys have yet. Like, I know I've got Vasquez to read, or Bishop, one of the two that's in the trilogy, and yeah, it just seems a bit lazy. Like, I mean, they could just change the name. We could just have Wilkes and Billy again, you know, just be a bit creative like that.
You know what? I'd actually wouldn't mind seeing another story of Wilkes and Billy in that alternate universe. You know, let's. Hopefully they're not together. That was so weird in the
Oh god,
in the in the novels. But you know, I wouldn't mind seeing them back actually. And to be fair, I've also got to say, you know, I enjoyed Alex White revisiting the nameless Japanese scientist from Alien 3, who did have a name in one of the scripts, which is what the character is in the book. But yeah, I will give Alex that one.
In those kinds of contexts, when it's a kind of a background character, seeing them again tangentially in a logical way framed in the story, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. And I meant when I said if I were to see her again, I wouldn't like hate it. But I do agree with what all of you are saying there. Basically, it's not even just family characters, which, as Dachande pointed out, yeah, it's getting very Star Warsy, but it's getting to another point where uh, just having reoccurring characters that keep on having encounters with the alien, that gets really problematic down the road. That's why at the same time, not only do I have kind of an issue with seeing the same family members, but even when they're not related, that's one of the reasons why Zula Hendricks doesn't do it really much for me, because she's had already so many adventures that it's kind of overflowing my suspension of disbelief.
That's
Like,
fair.
I'm not in the sense of that Ripley is the pinnacle, that nobody can encounter the alien more times than her, but at the same time, even the films kind of portrayed she was lucky in a lot of the situations, and by the third encounter, she was already at the start of the film. She was impregnated with the alien queen, so her death sentence was already there. Third time, so she won, quote unquote, escaped barely twice in lucky situations. The third time got her. So that doesn't mean we have to create a formula like that, of course, but having a character return and again and again and again, being able to go through and survive these alien stories is something that, again, from somebody that comes here to see the alien creatures, it diminishes them. So yes, at that point, I do not want to see actually recurring characters. I really enjoy new people again and again in different comics, just to have different POVs.
Casper says, I think that's because most artists and writers don't read each other's stories, so they end up creating similar ones or reusing the same family members and ideas. Now, this is where your editors fail in you, because that's their job to know that sort of stuff. And it is entirely fair, you know. the writers don't go around reading all the lore that we do and all the entries and stuff. But yeah, that's on the editors to know that kind of thing. But I agree with you, Greg. There is a certain point where the recurrence of a character and them continually surviving diminishes the effectiveness of your villain. That's entirely fair. What did everybody think of the Colonial Marshals being in this story? Because is this the second appearance of them outside of the RPG?
I mean, they were in the prequel Isolation comic, were they not?
Yes, they were.
Yeah, but
Yes, they
that
were.
doesn't count. That's
It's still a
Isolation.
comic. Yeah,
It's
it was a Dark Horse comic.
But fair. I don't think they've been in any of the short stories in Titan
Have they
stuff.
Have they not been in Marvel's second run on that colony thing?
No, I'm sure they weren't.
That wasn't.
That was all
Yeah,
farmers and colonists, and
They weren't in What If, right? I don't think.
No, they weren't in What If.
But I know you've liked that concept, Aaron. I thought it was cool to see them back. It's interesting. I never took them as like interplanetary force. I figured they were just kind of stationed on a colony and that was it. Not like this one, they're almost presented more as like spies or something. And I know in Alien Cult, we just have like the regular FBI. As well. So
that I was a little disappointed by in the synopsis for that. I was like, oh come on, it should have been something to do with the Colonial Marines or some Colonial Marshals, or some sort of offshoot of them.
But personally, I like seeing the Marshals again. I do think that they are a great element from Isolation that hasn't caught on as much as Seegson and the Working Joes, which of course were the stars of the show, besides the Alien. So I am glad seeing them a bit more. I do think that they aren't used maybe the best in the sense of like what could you present their function as. They are basically space sheriffs. They are Outland without the alien. They are you could use them in colony settings a lot more, but here they are presented more as FBI, secret agents, etc. It was fun. I liked the characters. They were fun, but it gave a lot of X-Files vibes, and just had also similarities. Generally, the body cop stuff, and maybe a bit of the Blade Runner elements. Imagine if you had two were working together with the synthetic kind of reference. But I was glad to see them again. Ridiculous place for headquarters, though, and the way they're used could be more in line with what they were kind of meant to represent in Isolation. So I would like to see more of them in future novels and comics. They are a great way of giving some authority and some kind of firepower and competence for like the heroes against the alien, but without using Colonial Marines all the time if you don't want to get that large scale action there. So I think they are a great, fertile kind of creative ground for doing that, and I absolutely recommend creatives go full on in with that in future projects.
I thought it was definitely a different perspective from a lot of other stuff. Like normally it's either you've got just random space people, you've got Colonial Marines, and you've got scientists. So having it come from the point of view of these people that are still kind of like security officers, so they're kind of more adept and kind of like focused on stuff like that happening. Like when you actually have the chest bursting happen, then the thing is like they're dealing in bioweapons, like what's kind of going on here. So actually having people that kind of know enough about certain things kind of gives you more like depth and ways you can kind of play with them and use certain ideas and stuff like that, I think. So I think it's definitely a change from just being either soldiers or just kind of like regular people. So having that was, I thought it was quite a neat thing to do.
Exactly. It is a breath of fresh air when it comes to the archetypes of the characters that we're getting to play with. I always said River of Pain missed a treat in not using Colonial Marshals and instead having these shoehorned in Colonial Marines. They are an effective tool to do something similar, but that makes contextual sense in regards to all these far-flung colonies and this police organization that is overseeing them. And then we maybe get a bit more. It's potential for different personalities. We tend to too often with the Colonial Marines get replications of aliens, and it's the potential for a bit more diversity in personalities here. And that's not to say this is wholly original in terms of how it wrote the two agents, because it's a very buddy cop kind of approach to it. But that was nice. I did enjoy their dynamic with each other, because there'll always be something fun about workmates slagging each other off, and that will never not be charming, should we say. Like I said at the start, I do wish they'd sort of embraced it in terms of narrative structure a bit differently, because they could have done something different that lent into the Colonial Marshal aspect a bit more, something investigation in a kind of thing. But it does sound like we're going to get that with Cult, the upcoming book from Titan. I forgot the publisher's name then. But that's not Colonial Marshals, that's FBI. So, that's kind of swings and roundabouts about it. But yeah, I liked them. It's nice to see something in the EU start to embrace them a bit more that isn't the RPG. So hopefully people will dip into that further going forwards.
Speaking of them being workmates, the Colonial Marshals, Dash and Lydia, I believe, there was another issue between them that came up that is a recurring thing in the Alien universe, and that is the secret android reveal.
That was where that took a bit of a tank for me, because it was, again, an entirely unnecessary twist.
I mean, it was kind of an interesting concept that they just have some of them secretly throughout the Marshals to keep an eye on things. But at the same time, I thought it was a bit weird that she was like, "Oh, I'm in critical systems failure," like she was dying. I'm like, we've seen synthetics come back from way worse damage than she was showing. So I almost expected him to go back from her and try and retrieve her or something like that. And so that felt like a bit of a loose end for me, honestly.
The Colonial Marshals, the Bureau cannot afford that effective synthetics. I mean, how did they even justify it? It was like they were supposed to keep eyes on certain holdings, and that was entirely irrelevant, in my opinion. It would have been better, maybe even more prescient, to have been perhaps more about investigation into corruption of the Marshals, and their behavior, especially when it came to this sort of criminal organization. It could have been a different way to play it. It could have felt a bit more relevant to why they would need synthetics, because obviously they can be programmed to be morally correct and all that kind of thing.
I did like her joke that got a smile out of me, where she said, "Oh, I didn't find you unfunny, or I didn't find your jokes bad because I'm synthetic. You're just not funny," or something like that.
I loved that. I love that, even though I agree that her being a synthetic was an unnecessary element of the story. Completely agree with what you all said there. But I do like that when she was revealed, that she still had that personality. That at least this writer is aware that synthetics are supposed to be indistinguishable from humans in the Alienverse. They are used for undercover situations, or obviously quite a bit. And having her have such a human, funny line as a kind of warm, departing aspect for her last moments, that gives a lot of Bishop in Alien 3 as well elements. So I was pretty glad to see. Okay, that's how synthetics are in Aliens. So I was glad that at least her character was still there. We have, yeah, Casper says, don't we have Colonial Marshals in Aliens Dark Descent? We have, yes, they are there in the audio logs and in the victims, but we don't really encounter them.
I'd forgot that. Thank you for pointing that out, Casper.
Thank you. Yes, but regarding having a synthetic as a marshal, that is an interesting idea. Again, unnecessary for the story, but I like that they at least tried to justify it with, yeah, we gotta keep eyes on our cops, basically, which, I understand, like, cop cams exist for very good reasons, but at the same time I'm thinking, well, that's one expensive way to have your cop cam with you, so
Well, I didn't
that's
even think of it was in that, because she said holdings as in property or, equipment kind of thing, rather than
Mhm.
necessarily a police state of the police, shall we say.
Well, anything regarding just incorrect probably behavior or usage of assets, whatever, just having that extra security layer. I did find that an interesting idea, but yes, it's funny to have that, and as said, that wound, being able to kill her outright then was a bit like, okay, she must be a really, really, really cheap model in that sense, but we've seen a lot of times in different books, films, games that different synthetics can take different amounts of punishment, even though this is probably one of the lowest amounts we've seen uh, able to take down a character. So that was all strange. Did give a lot of Blade Runner vibes in that sense as well. Like, oh, having your investigator, is he or is he not a synthetic or replicant in that case? So I found those elements interesting, but yes, also unnecessary to her character.
Yeah, it was a bit out of left field just having her be a synth. Like, it seems, I think that to me would make sense. Let's say you'd have a synth to partner up with someone that you suspect of like corruption or something like that, because obviously if the synth is with them, they're not necessarily gonna be able to be, well, corrupted in the same kind of way. Yeah, just a bit of a peculiar one. Like, I always found it weird to think that in all their years of working together, she'd never have got like a bump or a scrape or something, and then be like, "That's not blood. What the hell?" Type thing. So that was a bit, took me a bit out of it. But yeah, like, it was just again a weird idea that didn't make anything worse, but didn't really improve much either. It was just, okay, she's a synth, and yeah, cool, I guess.
So while we're sort of talking about the criminal stuff, did anybody get the Joseph Conrad reference? No? Okay. The
Which
Arrow
one
of
was it?
Gold is a Joseph Conrad reference.
Have you actually read
Oh,
those books, Aaron?
Have I? Fuck, I've just looked them up a lot during my very often attempts to come up with alien story things. The Arrow of Gold happened to be the name of a ship in one of my various bits and pieces that I'd done, and it was because it was a Joseph Conrad reference, one of his books.
beautiful to know.
There we go. So it's nice to see Steve Fox bringing that tradition into his series here.
Way to go. What do we think about the quote unquote main villain, Ricky?
Caricature. I liked the robot arm as a visual, but it was largely pointless in the story. He was not threatening as a villain. He was very comedic and like I said, like a caricature of a villain here. No other thoughts from anybody?
I
Is
mean,
that
yeah,
how meaningless
he
he
was
is?
definitely like, I'm in it for me, screw anyone and even anyone who's on my crew. And then at the end, it was, and we've seen this kind of standoff before, right? Where one of his crew gets together with a bunch of survivors. I mean, we kind of saw it in Alien Resurrection, I guess. And the allegiances have changed. It was funny that he just kills an alien on the ramp and it creates like holes in the ship where there's a fuel leak. I'm like, the fuel's running through the ramp? What? Again, my sci-fi brain creeping in, always creeping in, trying to find that logic when I should just not be paying attention to that, I guess.
It
But
is it is always nice to see the acid be relevant to the story in some way, though, even if it is a little bit in a hand wavy kind of way, like you say there, Adam, with,
yeah,
with
I
the
mean,
with the fuel tank being under the
it,
ramp.
it made for a nice explosion. I'll go with that. But yeah, I mean, not much to the villain. He had a fun attitude, some charming lines at times, and I don't know. It kind of made me think of like I guess Empire Strikes Back odd reference, where it's like he's the smuggler guy coming in and his friend is in charge of like he's this rich hotshot now and in charge of this like this casino and resort planet. So, but that didn't really come into play again. He just finds his friend dead and he's like, "Oh, well, sucks to be you, I guess." I thought there was going to be more tension there with them being old friends.
I personally, I liked him in the sense, yes, he's not used particularly in a meaningful way, but for the little presence he had, I found the combination of his art expressions and his dialogue to be fun enough. I liked how snarky he was. Uh, at the same time, with some of the dumb things he does, he reminded me a bit of Dale, if I remember his name from AvP Requiem. and I just I liked how I disliked him. He was a bit annoying, but not in the kind of I can't stand to see him on the page there. I liked how they set up his death there, and especially with what um, Adam said with the acid. For once in in like a billion books and games, having the acid actually do something of consequence to the environment, that was an awesome idea. Agreed with Adam that the location is a bit strange. They could have just put that whole confrontation a bit deeper in the ship. But yeah, I can imagine the deck has maybe pipes that connect with, the fuel and some other kind of BS ideas, and that just chain reaction creates. But I like that basically what gets him is the acid, a dead alien that even in death, that thing will find a way to get its revenge on you. So I was glad to see the way he got his demise when three aliens were trying to get through the cockpit. He was very confident, and nope, underneath hell was brewing.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about that, Aaron. That he was a very overtop character. It's very much he's there just to get killed at the end and just be like a bit of a dick all the way through. Like I liked how because he's like this rich smug arsehole, he's not got a normal robot arm. He's got a golden robot arm. Just to be even more of like a smug twat, as it were. But yeah, like his like attitude and stuff, like locking Lydia outside the door and stuff like that. Like he did enough stuff for you to be like, I'm gonna be glad when you're dead, not just like I want to be rid of you as soon as possible. But yeah.
What I did actually really like, though, was the busboy or the waiter. To me, there are two things I think about when I think about Alien. I think about the cosmic Lovecraftian horror background of the alien and the space jockey. And I think about the difficult corporate life of the anti-corporate sentimentality of the series. And this was expressed in Paradiso through the waiter. I forget his name. Was it Glenn or something, or was that one of the other ones who died? I can't remember.
It was Vidal, I think.
Oh, Vidal. Yes, you are quite right. Yeah. So I really enjoyed him in this because he kind of bounced all over that theme. There's a flashback where I think this might have been a reference to Icarus, by the way, where he is one of thousands of people on the Debt Meter colony, a farming colony on Debt Meter, and I'm pretty sure Debt Meter was the agricultural colony in Icarus that had the nuclear explosion where they had to go to the other planet to go and get the cure, the alien cure thing in Icarus. So I think that was a nice bit of Marvel continuity there. But no, I liked that because straight off the bat you get this bit of hopelessness of their situation. There's a lottery, it seems, for people to get jobs, so it's not based on merit, it's based on luck and random chance. And then his motivation to risk his life is again all monetary, but he's also expressing loyalty to this opportunity to get him out of poverty that he was in. to then just flip it all straight over at the end of the comic as well and go, fuck you all, I want my money, I'm going to go make my life better. So I enjoy seeing that kind of element of desperation of corporate commentary in this comic and through Vidal. I liked him. He was a complicated character in this.
I completely agree with that. He was he was very relatable. I've known people in those situations, especially so when you're working for a rich resort and you're just basically the quote unquote help there. That those kind of institutions, they like to take people from more desperate situations, and I completely bought at how they were reacting to this situation. Like, I am happy how it was written in a believable manner. Because of course it makes sense. Oh, they think it's just a little larva chestburster thing. Oh, get them to take it. Who's able to capture it? We'll give him a huge ass reward, and that is something that'll motivate him. As Casper says here, it was pretty funny seeing them with those pool skimmer nets. Those poor people thinking, oh, we're just going to catch something small like this, and then all hell breaks loose for them. I find it hilarious, though, that for that character, we get a more kind of interesting and relatable, engaging kind of backstory than we get for our main daughter of Cain, which was kind of funny if she got some type of engaging backstory that's not related to our titular character in Alien. Maybe that could have been even more relatable. But seeing this, and then especially that ending, I found that quite kind of logical, quite satisfying in that sense. Of course, how else would this end? I generally like the darker tones and the dark endings in my Alien stories. So seeing that it just goes in that direction, I was like, yeah, that it was strange that I was not expecting from the first issue to the fifth that this little character has basically an arc in that sense, a mini arc, but a completely relatable one, and a very actually sad story because we know how this is going to end with what they've done. So I was surprised at how engaged I felt with his scenes there and that ending especially.
I do find it a little tiresome that Marvel keep doing these open endings, though. You know, that was pretty much, I think Philip Kennedy Johnson said that was the point of his first 3 series, was leaving, or at least first 2 series was leaving avenues for people to go and jump off of and stuff like that. And I'm kind of bored of it. Give me, don't get me wrong, it was a complete story, but you don't need to leave hangovers for all this stuff. Any other thoughts on Vidal, or you guys not really got
Yeah,
much
it
to say on
didn't
him?
seem like there was too. I mean, yeah, it kind of played into that theme of like the alien will continue to go on because capitalism, really not even like true capitalism, just like well, I guess that's a whole other discussion, but like serious exploitation, right? And this goes again to the capitalism commentary, how much subtlety is good. And that whole scene, it's like, wow, it's some of these colonies sure just must be dire for them to be completely taken advantage of like this. But other than that, there didn't seem to be too much to his character, really. I mean, we didn't really get to know him too well. He just kind of joined with our main group. I mean, first he was with some of the other hotel workers, and that was another kind of commentary thing because they were all worried about their safety. And then it was like, oh, whoever catches this thing, he's gonna pay off the rest of your contract. And then they were like, okay, got it, let's go die. So yeah, it seemed he was kind of a vessel for that maybe heavy-handed commentary. I didn't think there was really too much to his character.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with what Adam said. Like, I didn't have too many thoughts about him during it. Like, yeah, like what we said, he's just obviously he's motivated to get off there and stuff like that. Like his whole like backstory did feel quite Hunger Gamesy as well. where you're just getting lotteried off type thing. So like you're pretty much worthless to a lot of these things. But yeah, like I didn't think. Yeah, like again, he was kind of just there. Like a lot of it, like there wasn't anything bad about him, but wasn't. Yeah, it didn't really strike me as too interesting, as it were.
That's fair. So I only have one more thing to bring up, and that's just the pistols kind of look like the Alien Resurrection pistols, and that was cool. I like that. Adams just picked his comic up and is now having a flick through to have a gander. But yeah, that was my last thought on it. This series is very much just middle of the road, dark horse. It's entertaining enough. It's not offensive, but it's not iconic. There's nothing in this that is going to be like, oh, you've got to go read, Alien Paradiso for this reason. The only thing that it could possibly have that description for is the point of view stuff, and that's not really that significant in here. But yeah, middle of the road, 6 out of 10. Any final wrappy up thoughts from everybody else, and then we'll get to the quiz.
I agree with that. Like it leans positive. Like if you really want to read a new Alien comic, it'll do the job. But like you said, Aaron, it's not particularly memorable. It's not one I'm going to go back to anytime soon. And with the quality we got from Black, White, and Blood,
and Alien versus Avengers. When you go from those two to this,
Marvel's just been overall
wildly inconsistent.
with Alien, especially with Predator, that I would say it's been much more positive. With Alien, it's been more inconsistent, which is how I would say just with the franchises in general these days. But
I mean, Dark Horse wasn't exactly knocking it out of the park every time. Let's be honest.
True.
Especially with the volume that comes out.
Yeah.
I agree that it's a kind of a middle of the road, but I probably steer more into would put it into the positive territory than both of you there. And I kind of feel, especially with those comparisons to what Dark Horse did previously, I think it's actually completely okay to have some that don't work at all, some that are just okay to good-ish, and from time to time having fantastic ones like with the Utopia series in Marvel recently, Black, White, and Blood. But I'm glad I read through all of this, and I would recommend it if you are looking, if you know what to expect. If you want to have just see a bunch of alien carnage, slasher type comic, the 5-issue short story there, you're gonna be satisfied and entertained. Most of the art is pretty well done. The characters and dialogue, there's nothing overly bad there about it. Just two elements that I forgot to bring up. Issue 2, yes, issue 2 had probably one of the most beautiful chest burst shots I've ever seen. That was fantastic. I really liked it. And also, I was very happy with the whole premise of the story. How do you get an alien inside such a secure zone? So I liked that we had a no-gun zone, people being scanned. So what does this crime cartel want to do to screw up Mr. Ricky? They have a sleeper agent literally inside of them. So I like when you have a kind of creative setup like that. So as a kind of basic, if you compare it to like a fun popcorny B movie type entertainment, this comic satisfies it completely. So I got what I was looking out of it. So like it, recommended. Nothing completely wow, but firmly in the positive. I completely support Marvel at least trying to experiment with these different types. Let's have some shit ones, let's have some mediocre ones, but statistically, if you're trying different things, you're gonna have some great ones as well. So I'm okay to continue and trying different approaches like this. So can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with everything Greg said there. Like, it is, again, I haven't read anything in a while, so Aliens Avengers, I really want to pick up because that looks really fun. But like, yeah, if you're looking for something to read, there's nothing bad in this. Like, I don't think there's anything in it I would say isn't very good. Like, everything is at least medium to good. Like, there's some really good panels. Like I said, the chest bursting one, the variant covers and the covers in there all look really good. So I think I was really happy with it. Like, and it's not like it's particularly expensive. Like, I think it was like a tenner or so on Amazon, so it wasn't anything crazy. So yeah, I think if you like something that's not going to be too meaty, you can just kind of enjoy it in a quick read in the afternoon. I think it's definitely worth picking up. Like, yeah, it's just good fun. I think nothing crazy, nothing deep, but it's good alien slasher things getting absolutely wrecked.
It's unoffensive alien fun, I think is the best way to put it in terms of quality. But yeah, come on, Greg, quiz us.
Greetings, rich scumbags and criminals alike. Here at Paradiso Island, we don't discriminate against anyone if you're willing to pay the price. We have the best gambling opportunities in this corner of space. The winner shall receive a prize that will make your chests burst with excitement. The first question. What was Kane's first name? Was it
Easy.
A, Ward, B, Gilbert, C, John, D, Thomas?
Okay.
We ready to go on? Okay. Which of these characters were first to have their relatives appear in the expanded universe media? Was it A, Ripley, B, Apone, C, Vasquez, or D, Hicks?
Get it?
The last one. So since we have been talking about relatives constantly appearing, let's see how detailed we have this knowledge of those relatives. Which of these is not a relative of Jeanette Vasquez?
Okay.
Now, okay, is it A, Cutter, B, Carmen, C, Ramon, or D, Leticia?
Who were the last two again?
Ramon or Leticia? C is Ramon, D, Leticia, B is Carmen, and A is Cutter.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Also good.
Adam's nodding. Okay. Jack's nodding.
Ready? Okay. So, what did we put for number one? What was Kane's first name?
Adam, you go. I want to go last.
D, Thomas.
Okay. Okay.
D, Thomas.
Okay. Aaron?
I was certain it was Thomas. However, when you said Gilbert, I was like, oh shit, Gilbert's in there somewhere. And I can't remember if Gilbert was his first name or his middle name. So I've gone B with being Gilbert Thomas.
Okay. So, you all get a point from this. Why? Here's the context. Both
Was Gilbert from the crew dossiers?
Yes, both B and D are correct, depending on your source. Gilbert Ward Kane was from the Inquiry in Aliens. That's where I put Ward. That was his middle name, not his first. Whilst Thomas Kane was mentioned in A.D. Foster's novelization of Alien, as well as Weyland-Yutani report more recently. I haven't checked. Maybe it's also in Romulus. I'd have to check that as well when the name shows up, possibly. But so technically, if you would have put both, you would have gotten 2 points there. But all of you get 1.
I didn't know we could select 2 answers.
This one seems to have easy answers, so I put very tricky options there. Oh, you'll see. So the second question, which of these characters were first to have their relatives appear in the expanded universe media? What did you put?
Vasquez.
Also
Okay.
Vasquez.
I thought it was Vasquez, but then changed my mind to Hicks because everyone else seems more recent, but I think I might be wrong.
Okay. So the answer is C. Vasquez. Her sister appeared in the 1993 Aliens Colonial Marines comics. The reason, Dachande, you probably got a little bit confused there is because Hicks's wife, not technically relative, but Hicks's wife did appear in Bug Hunt, which is a bit more farther than Vasquez, which is a bit more recent novel where more of her relatives appeared. So that's why the third question is as is. So, which of the selection was not a relative of Jeanette Vasquez?
I went
Who wants to go
Ramon
first?
because I was like, is that who she was sleeping with in Vasquez instead? But I couldn't pick between C and D to start with.
No, I think it was D because Ramon was the brother in the novel, right?
I
What
would have
did the
seemed the least Vasquez-y.
sorry, didn't hear your answer. You kind of broke up there.
D. I went for.
D.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay. I am sorry, but none of you get a point there, and it's completely fair. I was being a bit maybe cruel or facetious because the answer is none of the above.
Okay,
All
well
of
that wasn't an option. We've got to be aware of the options if we can pick 2
So,
or if we can pick none
all
of
of
them.
them are her relatives. Kata was the nephew. Carmen
that
was
was
the
Aftermath.
sister.
That was Vasquez.
And both Ramon
Cohen
and Letitia were the 2 children. They were the 2 twins. She just has that many relatives appear and fight the xenomorphs.
So I
I
think
thought I
we
was
need
giving
to.
5 options, but I was like, wait, we have. I was using 4 constantly, so let's try this.
So we need to remember that we can argue with the questions, basically.
Yes, you can. This is a kind
He's
of.
a bit of a bastard, isn't he?
I wanted to try something different a bit because on the surface they look like simple, easier questions than before. So I was gonna play with it. So in the future, expect that maybe you can choose multiple questions, or that maybe none of the above can be available. But that is the alien lore. That is the alien lore. We have a lot, a lot of trivia available.
The quiz show is going to be funny because we're going to argue with that motherfucker. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Greg. You son of a bitch, with your trick questions. Adam, do you want to wrap us up?
For sure. So if you are one of our Patreons watching us live, thank you for your support. We very much appreciate it. If you'd like to support what we do at AvP Galaxy, head on over to patreon.com/AvP Galaxy. You can always find us on our main hub of activity, which is our website, avpgalaxy.net, where we have all the latest news on the happenings of the franchises, Alien, Predator, and hopefully before long, AvP. We are also on all the major social channels: Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and now TikTok, where we just hit our first 100 subscribers. Thank you, Hunter. And we also have a Discord channel and Steam group.
Right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening or watching. And thank you, of course, to our wonderful, lovely hosts. This has been Corporal Hicks.
RidgeTop.
Still collating.
Marshall Dachande.
Signing off.